Move on to roll call to see if we have a quorum. Mr. City Manager.
Good morning, Chair Williams. So we will do a roll call, starting with yourself, Chair Director Williams.
Here.
Committee Member Director Houston.
Here.
Committee Alternate Director Alvarez. Board President Director Deere. Board Secretary and Chairwoman Director Gray.
Here.
Okay, so it appears that we have a quorum. Floor is yours, Chair Williams.
Okay, thank you. Is there any public comment?
I believe we have no public comments registered, and in the platform, it appears we have no public comment requested on the platform itself. However, if it pleases the chair, I would like to maybe take a moment in recognition of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, if I may.
You may. Thank you very much.
Okay, and so this is kind of a continuation of an article that I'm reading from history.com, which I started in our E&O committee. And in this segment, I'm going to talk about the theme for AAPI Heritage Month for 2022. So according to the Federal Asian Pacific American Council, the theme for AAPI Heritage Month 2022 is Advancing Leaders Through Collaboration. The FAPAC, the Federal Asian Pacific American Council, encourages local and national governments to prioritize collaboration, development, diversity, transparency, and inclusion through leadership training of AAPI people. The article goes on to say, why is the date of AAPI Heritage Month significant? The month of May was chosen because it commemorates the immigration of the first Japanese people to the United States on May 7th, 1843. May is also significant because it recognizes Golden Spike Day, May 10th, 1869, which marks the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad that was built with significant contributions from Chinese workers. So with that, why do we celebrate AAPI Heritage Month? Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have contributed significantly to many facets of American culture and society, including science, medicine, literature and art, sports and recreation, government and politics, and activism and law. In 2021, Kamala Harris became the first Asian American Vice President of the United States. In film history, AAPI people, stories, and traditions have become more visible with South Korean director Bong Joon-ho's Parasite winning the Academy Award for Best Picture in 2019, and the release of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings in 2021, debuting Marvel's first Asian superhero. AAPI people have a long history in the United States, despite the stereotype that they are perpetual foreigners. The idea that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are inherent foreign, other, and not truly American. According to the Bering Land Bridge theory, Asians first migrated to what is known as North America over 15,000 years ago through a land bridge between Asia and North America. In the 16th century, Filipinos who were escaping forced labor and enslavement during the Spanish galleon trade immigrated to North America, eventually establishing a settlement in St. Malo, Louisiana in 1763. During the California Gold Rush of the 1850s, a wave of Asian immigrants came to the West Coast and provided labor for gold mines, factories, and the Transcontinental Railroad. In 1882, Congress enacted the Chinese Exclusion Act, which banned Chinese immigration for 20 years. Japanese and Koreans began immigrating to the United States by 1885 to replace Chinese labor in railroad construction, farming, and fishing. However, in 1907, Japanese immigration was restricted by a gentleman's agreement between the United States and Japan. The Civil Rights Movement assisted the liberation of immigration laws. The 1965 Immigration and Nationality Act changed restrictive national origin quotas and allowed for the large numbers of Asians and Pacific Islanders to come to the United States with their families. In the mid-1970s, refugees from Southeast Asia like Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos came to the United States to flee war, violence, and hardship. Today, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are the fastest growing racial group in the United States. AAPI Heritage Month celebrates the unique journey of all AAPI immigrants and citizens in the United States and their unique life experiences, traditions, and cultures. I will conclude my remarks there, Chair Williams, and turn the floor back to you.
Well, thank you very much for that. Now we will move on to item number 4, which is, excuse me, we've done that. We'll move on to item 5, which is the action calendar. So back to you, Mr. City Manager, General Manager.
Okay, thank you, Chair Williams. So we do have an action item, and we have our staff, Janelle and Kian, our education coordinator, who's prepared to present the item on our contract amendment with a staff recommendation. So please, Janelle, if you may.
Thank you very much, Greg. Good morning, Chair Williams and members of the board and committee. This morning, I'll be going over agenda item 5A, starting on page 3 of the agenda packet, which covers an action item to amend our professional services contract with Oceanographic Teaching Stations, Inc., also known as OTS. OTS owns and operates a Roundhouse Aquarium in Manhattan Beach and currently provides water education services as part of the district's school tour program. Today's action item recommends that the board both increase the contract amount and extend the contract term by 2 years. The formal recommendation will be read at the end of my report. So for background information, West Basin has partnered with the Roundhouse Aquarium since 2006 for our school tour program, which currently has 2 components. For the first component, students will take a tour of the Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility in El Segundo to learn about how West Basin connects science, technology, engineering to produce recycled water. For the second component, students receive a tour of the Roundhouse Aquarium to view firsthand the marine animals that benefit from West Basin's environmental stewardship and protection of the Santa Monica Bay. Again, our recycled water program prevents 35 to 40 million gallons of treated wastewater from entering the bay, therefore showing our local students the direct benefits of recycling water by keeping their ocean habitat clean. Both of these components happen in a single field trip session. The working with the aquarium has really added value to our school tour program, especially with their ability to pivot to virtual tours during the pandemic, and now with our return back to in-person sessions. We've also really been able to expand our reach with virtual sessions, and in fact, we were able to host 4 sessions for Malibu Middle School last week, when typically it's not possible for our far-off schools to participate in this program. To date, the aquarium has supported West Basin in educating over 30,000 students through 800 sessions. The current sole source agreement with the aquarium is set to expire on June 30 of this year and is included as attachment A of the agenda packet. This contract originated in 2019 when the aquarium reopened after nearly 3 years of major improvements. The contract was amended in 2020 to provide programming through this current school year, 2021 to 2022. I do also want to emphasize that this is a sole source agreement due to a number of factors. The aquarium is only 3 miles away from our water recycling facility, which allows students to experience both our facility tour and the aquarium tour within one school day. They are also the only teaching aquarium within our service area, and their staff are experts in marine life and conservation, and their long-standing history with the district allows us to further our shared goal of conservation and sustainability efforts. This action item proposes to extend the contract through June 30, 2024, and add $80,000 to the contract amount. This will provide programming over the next 2 school years for up to 100 sessions and 6,000 students each school year. These projections do assume that we could return back to pre-pandemic full capacity. So for background information, over the past 2 years, we were virtual, and just recently we're able to return back to in-person at a reduced capacity of 1 class per day. And our full capacity is 2 classes per day, 3 days per week. The proposal for this contract amendment is included as attachment B. Now, I'd like everyone to turn over to page 18 of the agenda packet, which more accurately breaks down the cost per session. We're proposing an additional $80,000 to be split up over the next 2 fiscal years, and you can see that split up between 22 to 23 and 23 to 24. Note that for 2022 to 2023 school year, the correct total not to exceed amount is $38,600, and we will amend this before this goes to the full board meeting for approval, but the total proposed increase in the contract amount of $80,000 is correct. So the costs shown on this page include various scenarios for a teacher requesting a school tour, which are either virtual or in person, and either 1 to 2 classes for each session. And we do have up to 100 sessions available for each school year. And teachers may request differently based on their needs. And we're also happy to continue offering these virtual sessions for schools that may have difficulties going on a full day field trip, either because of distance, such as those Malibu schools, or because of limited time with the students, such as those middle and high schools that have periods. The same number of sessions and offerings, of course, are proposed for the 2023 and 2024 school year, but reflect an increase in costs due to expected inflation and wage increases. And also proposed at the bottom of this page are some funds to provide aquarium staff with adequate disinfection supplies as we continue to come out of the pandemic. Again, Roundhouse Aquarium has been an excellent partner in our school tour program and is a really well-received offering that both students and teachers look forward to each year. They maximize the value of our school tour program by connecting the benefits of water recycling with the protection of ocean animals that our young students and local students are inherently interested in. With that, I'll go ahead and read the recommendation. And staff recommends that the board authorize the general manager to amend the professional services agreement number W2897 with the Oceanographic Teaching Stations, Inc. to provide water education programming for the 2022 to 2024 school years until June 30, 2024 in the amount of $80,000 for a new total not to exceed contract amount of $144,000, $144,421. I'm happy to take questions if there are any at this time, but that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Janelle, for a very, very fine report, very thorough. This is in alignment with our mission and goals. And I would like to hear from Director Houston on this.
Sure, I have no questions. I agree that we should move forward with it, and I'm glad that we have that partnership with the aquarium. So I'm okay with it. Thank you.
Very good, and I concur, and we will do that. We'll move this on to the full board. Thank you. Keep it up, Janelle. All right. That takes us to the next item. Mr. General Manager.
Yes, thank you, Chair Williams. So that brings us to our water policy and resources analyst, Mr. Gus Meza, Sr., who is prepared to brief the board on our conservation partnership agreement with South Bay Cities Council of Governments and to provide our recommendation for this action item. So Gus, please take it away.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning, Chairman Williams, committee and board members. I am currently on packet page 40. This morning, I'll be presenting on our partnership with the South Bay City Council of Governments and seeking your approval to award them with a new one-year partnership agreement. And also joining us today on this webinar is Martha Segovia. She's the program manager for the South Bay City Council of Governments. Next
And
page. Yes.
If I may, Gus, I also would fail to acknowledge that we have Director Deere present, who I believe logged in midway during Janelle's presentation. So good morning.
That's not correct. Actually,
President Deere.
excuse me, can you hear me?
No, I
Yes.
can.
This is Don Deere. Good. I logged in the middle of the general manager's historical presentation. Being a history teacher, I enjoyed it very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's flattering. Okay, Gus, I'm sorry for interrupting.
Okay, great, no problem. Thank you. Good morning, Director Deere. Yes, next page, please. I am now on packet page 41. I'm going to just provide a brief description on the South Bay City Council of Governments, and then we'll be describing all the work that they have done on behalf of West Basin. They are the South Bay City Council of Governments is a joint powers authority made up of 16 cities in the South Bay, including the County of Los Angeles. In 2006, with support from the California Public Utilities Commission, the South Bay COG developed the South Bay Environmental Services Center to work on several important initiatives, such as water and energy efficiency, climate action plans for the local cities, transportation, senior services, homelessness, and other programs that affect the South Bay. They currently have formal partnership agreements with several agencies to promote and assist with their programs, including LADWP, the City of Torrance, WRD, West Basin, and a few others that are shown at the bottom of the slide there. Next page, please. I am now on packet page 42. Through this partnership, the South Bay COG provides specific support for West Basin's conservation programs. I'll be providing more details, but they assist with promotion, outreach, collaborations, relationship building, leveraging of programs, and implementation of various conservation programs. Our agreement is an annual agreement and is set to expire on June 30th of this year. For these reasons, staff is seeking board authorization to enter into a new one-year agreement with the South Bay COG for fiscal year 2022-23 for an amount not to exceed $159,680. A total of $160,000 has been budgeted for this partnership in fiscal year 22-23. Next page, please. I am now on packet page 43. West Basin staff oversees and manages this partnership agreement. Staff holds weekly meetings with the South Bay COG staff to review project goals and to discuss new opportunities. We have worked effectively together during this pandemic and adjusted many of our programs. Now that the pandemic is improving and hopefully continues to improve, knock on wood, we are starting to resume some of our in-person events. Next page, please. I am now at packet page 44. Shown here are the tasks that they currently assist West Basin with. I will provide a bit more detail, but they assist West Basin with educational outreach support for our classes, workshops, events, and webinars. They assist with our Cash for Kitchens program, the Green Building Assist program, and our Change and Save program. Through the outreach support, they also work with their city contacts to identify speaking opportunities for West Basin. Next page, please. For this current fiscal year, they've answered between 800 to 1,000 conservation-related phone calls at the South Bay Environmental Services Center. The South Bay COG has a dedicated phone line for West Basin's programs that we utilize in our promotional materials. So they receive all the phone calls and they direct people they assist our residents from our communities and show them how to participate in our programs and direct them to our website and show them how they could participate. So they provide tremendous help to West Basin and its staff. To date, they have participated in over 70 events, presentations, workshops, and webinars, and distributed our materials at these events. They have also e-blasted and promoted our programs to their contact list. They promote our water bottle filling station program when meeting with cities and school districts. They also implemented 5 West Basin chats focused on grass replacement. They initiate the webinars using Zoom, and West Basin provides the instructor and PowerPoint. So yeah, our own Jennifer Vasquez, she teaches these chats and does a great job with those chats. Next page, please. I am on packet page 46 now. Earlier this year, they helped West Basin staff with taking RSVPs through phone calls and the website for the district's rain barrel program. They databased all the participants and assisted with obtaining installation photos from the residents, which is one of the requirements from MWD. They also attended and facilitated 2 of the in-person rain barrel events this year. They completed 71 Cash for Kitchens audits and provided over 400 conservation kits to residents at the various tabling events. These are the latest numbers as of this week. They also promoted West Basin to over 300 businesses in their Green Business Assist program. Next page, please. I am now on page 47. Here is a list of West Basin's webinars that they assisted with and helped to promote. We had good participation at all our webinars this year, and as I mentioned, they promoted the webinars and they led the Zoom classes for the West Basin chats. Next page, please. I am going to now show a few slides of their outreach efforts. Shown here is the South Bay COG staff member at the Whale of the Day in Rancho Palos Verdes, providing residents with conservation kits and grass replacement information. Next page. They also attended the 4th annual City of Hawthorne Winter Wonderland event that took place on December 18th, and they provided information at that event. Next page. And as part of our 2 in-person rain barrel events that we held this year, they provided staff members that assisted with registrations and coordinations at the events. So due to our partnership with the South Bay COG, we are able to cover many more events throughout our service area. And due to their local service area, West Basin staff does provide additional event support in our Division 4 areas. Next page, please. I am now on packet page 51. Staff meets monthly with the South Bay COG to review the contract tasks and budgets. Shown on this slide is funding spent through March 31st. A total of 27% of the contract amount remains, and we will be, and this will be used to cover the remaining work through June 30th of this contract year. Next page. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit and cover the tasks for this next fiscal year contract. West Basin staff met internally first to discuss the programmatic outreach and promotional needs of the district. Staff then worked with the South Bay COG to develop the scope of work. Next page. I am on packet page 53. For the new agreement, the South Bay COG staff will continue to assist with outreach, classes, workshops, and webinars, program promotion, West Basin's Rain Barrel program, some GIS support, and with the Green Business Assist program. Next page. We do have specific goals in each category that we track and discuss at each of our weekly meetings. You can find the details shown here in the scope of work that's attached to this board item. I won't read them all, but some of the tasks will include they'll be coordinating 14 speaking opportunities for West Basin. This task is very important and timely due to our current drought situation. They will be promoting West Basin's programs in their quarterly South Bay COG newsletter and their monthly South Bay Environmental Services newsletter e-blasts. They will conduct up to 30 e-blasts and 50 social media posts to promote our programs. They will be tabling up to 100 events throughout our service area. They will be promoting and coordinating our West Basin chats and other educational webinars, taking RSVPs and facilitating at our upcoming 5 Rain Barrel distribution events. Next page. I am on packet page 55. The partnership contract budget for this agreement is $159,680, which is $52,000 lower than the current contract budget. This is due to a couple of reasons. One, West Basin's Cash for Kitchens program is being modified and a new program is being developed with a new, we'll be hiring a new consultant in the future. We'll be bringing this item back to the board, and the new commercial program will be larger, more comprehensive, and will cover the entire service area, including Division 4. And so for this reason, we'll need less support from the South Bay COG for that program, since we'll be hiring a consultant in the future to cover the whole service area and go and work with commercial and industrial and look for other devices where we could conserve water in industry, such as cooling towers and other measures. And the second reason is West Basin's grant-funded Change and Save program is also ending on June 30th, so we'll need no support for that program there. So that is helping to reduce the cost of the agreement. Next page, please. So in summary, our partnership with the South Bay COG provides great value to West Basin. They are able to effectively disseminate West Basin's programs, messages, and materials to our local cities and communities. They provide customer assistance to our residents and businesses and assist West Basin staff with facilitating webinars and the Rain Barrel events. They also use their city partnerships to look for speaking opportunities for West Basin. They also keep their board members informed who represent our local cities, and they provide West Basin's message to their board. For our upcoming board meeting on May 23rd, their first vice chair, John Cruikshank, who's a council member for Rancho Palos Verdes, will be attending our board meeting on May 23rd to thank the board for this great partnership that we've had with them since 2006. Next page, please. I know I covered a lot, so thank you for allowing me to share with you all the great work that the South Bay COG does for West Basin. And at this time, I can read the recommended motion and then take any comments or questions that you may have. The recommendation is that the board authorize the general manager to enter into a conservation partnership agreement with the South Bay Cities Council of Governments to promote and implement West Basin's programs for 1 year from July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023 for an amount not to exceed $159,680. At this time, I can take any comments or questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Gus, and no need to apologize for anything. This is a great program and you have done a great job with it, and our partner, the South Bay Cog, they've been a tremendous partner with us for as long as I've been on the board. It's not very long, but it's not like some people I know that's on the board has been here forever and a day. But anyway, thank you so much for the work that you do in managing this program and maintaining the relationships that we need to be successful. And again, thank you. And I've always supported this program, and I will continue to as long as you continue to do the good things that you do with it. And with that, I just turn things over to Director Houston. I'm sure he has something to say because this is his area. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and I actually echo everything that the chair said. We are fortunate to have the COG as an extension of our outreach for most of our service area. So we're really, really fortunate to have that. I know how much it helps our staff and just gets the word out in such a bigger way than we could do on our own. So I fully support continued relationship with them and moving things forward. I think I had only really one or two questions on this, and one was because they're always out there, they've got their booths, they've got their tables, and I know that they get a lot of great response from residents on water and other issues. And I'm sure that they also are collecting, email addresses and collecting information, I suppose one for the COGS list, but do they also collect information to provide West Basin that we add to our database?
I'll have to, Director Houston, I know that they do collect information, you are correct, from residents for their contact list in order to inform them of all the programs, and they use their contact list to e-blast our programs out to those folks. And then when our staff is out at our events, we do have a sign-up sheet for our newsletter that we use for our database. But that's something that I could look into as well, to see if I don't know if having two lists would having people sign up twice, but they do use the information that they're collecting to e-blast any information that we want out to them.
Okay, great. I think it might be something just to consider, and I wouldn't want to have maybe two lists, but maybe when they collect the information, maybe they could have a little checkbox, and if people wanted to be added to the West Basin list, we could have that. So for those who are interested, it would just add to our own roster. So I think that would be a nice thing to look at, Gus. And then the other thing is, and I'm really glad to hear that Council Member Cruikshank will be at our next meeting to speak to us, but because I was just thinking about that too. On occasion, we should make a point to visit one of their meetings. I know in the past that we've been invited when they're doing, say, volunteer appreciation, but that just should be something on our radar screen that, somebody from West Basin once in a while should go to a COG board meeting. I don't know if it's once a year or something like that, but just to make sure we're staying in touch. So if you could think about that and express that to Jackie, I think that's a really good reciprocal relationship. So all that being said, I'm very supportive of this, and the South Bay COG is such an amazing organization because it's so robust. Most of the other, the West Side COG and some others, they're not the same. They don't have the resources or the staff. So we are really blessed to have them in our backyard here, and very, very pleased with the work they do. And again, they just add on to our limited staff, and so that's excellent. So thank you. I know that Martha's on this call, so thank you so much to you and Jackie and the whole team over there.
Thank you,
Mr. General Manager. Mr. General Manager, if you don't mind, I was going to address Director Houston's comments real quick.
Please do.
Director Houston, I just want to point out, that's an excellent point about utilizing the South Bay City Council of Governments and their monthly meeting. West Basin had the opportunity to attend just a few months ago with then Board President Harold Williams, and we provided somewhat of a drought overview and kind of the West Basin steps as far as our water use efficiency programs, as well as our water shortage contingency plan. And just yesterday, utilizing kind of the working group that we have with the South Bay Council of Governments, not only Gus meeting with their staff, but then I had a chance to speak with their staff afterwards. And we discussed just that about an updated presentation, possibly at the end of this month of May for our General Manager, Greg Reed. So we're working on that, and we're going to continue to utilize that as an excellent forum to get information out about West Bay Municipal Water District. So I just wanted to point that out.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to add to that, prior to the shutdown, when we're invited to the COG meetings, any one of us from West Basin is given the opportunity to say a few words, and they always do a great job of introducing the board member who's there or the board members. And so I would suggest that if you really want to get into and understand the COG, is attend their meetings when we're invited. Thank you.
And I'd like to just take a moment to say hello to Martha and thank you for joining our meeting today. And I look forward to the opportunity when you and I can meet with your team. And, you know, I look forward to being with you at the end of the month, as EJ had indicated.
No, thank you. On behalf of the South Bay Cities Council of Governments, I just want to thank you, all the board members, and also West Basin staff. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, you have another board member on the line. I'd like to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Please do.
Thank you. I just wanted to echo my sentiments, exactly what you and Director Houston said about the South Bay COGS. I think I've been on the board probably the second longest compared to Don Deere, I believe, and the partnership has been tremendous. I think that was one of the words used to describe the COG, and they have been tremendous in their outreach. And I think Director Houston said they're like an extension of West Basin, because when they're out there, people do look to them when we're not there in terms of what programs are available to us. And so I just want to say thank you to Jackie, and there's been some other folks we've interacted with, and I think Martha's on the line right now. So thank you to all of them. It's been a great partnership. Look forward to working with them. They have a great reputation, not only with us, but throughout the South Bay area. I know in the city of Inglewood that I live in. So again, I'm happy that this partnership will continue. So I just wanted to echo those comments. Thank you.
Director Deere.
Yes, can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I have to agree with all the comments of my colleagues. South Bay COG has been a great partner for us for many, many years, and we're very blessed to have had the relationship. We need to continue it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. See, is there any other board member about? I don't see any. Okay, then, Gus, outstanding.
Great. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Director Houston, what do you think we're going to do with this?
Let me think about this decision. Yes, we'll move it forward with a yes for approval, recommendation for approval to the board meeting. Thank you.
I concur. We'll do that, Mr. General Manager.
Okay, well, that I believe concludes our action calendar, Chair Williams. And if you like, we can move forward into the information calendar.
Please do.
Okay, so with that, I'm pleased to introduce Melissa Buendia, our Public Information Specialist, who can give you a briefing, give the committee a briefing on our 2022 annual advertisement campaign. So Melissa, please take her away.
Great. Thank you so much, Greg, and good morning. I think it's still morning. Yes. Good morning, members of the committee and the board. I will be referencing packet pages 58 and 59. So just a quick summary on the annual advertisement campaign. Annually, the district implements this campaign to raise awareness of current water issues, share information about our district programs available to the public, as well as highlight any key milestones that the district has celebrated in the past year. So this year's campaign theme built upon the success of the Supercalifragilistic drought awareness campaign that was initially launched in the fall of 2021. And it additionally recognizes a major milestone in West Basin's history, the 75th anniversary of the formation of the district. So staff pursued an adjusted scope of work utilizing the LOLA agency, advertising agency, to secure a combination of print and digital placements in local publications through our service area that ran through the month of April, mostly concentrating on the week leading up to Earth Day, which was on Friday, April 22nd. So on packet page 58 in table 1, you'll see that the advertisement publication list is listed out there for you. And on packet page 60, you'll find that the clips packet begins with all of the ad placements that were available for clipping as of April 29th. I believe there's 1 or 2 other publications that didn't send along clips up until the point of submitting this memo. So we'll be including that in next month's clips package for the communications update item. I know that was pretty quick of a report. That concludes my report, and thank you. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Any questions from Director Houston?
No question, just a comment. I have to say, and I think I said it a few months ago, I think the ad this year was really creative. It's very cute. It's very hip. It's very modern. You've got different types of folks in the ads. So I just commend the agency that put this together. Quite honestly, I think it was really well done and very professional, and sort of fits with the the diverse area we serve, of course. And of course, we all love the Supercalifragilistic. So I think we can keep on utilizing that going forward for the next, how many ever months or a year or whatever. But I just wanted to really put that out there. I just think it, I'm looking at the pictures right now. It's just really good. I can't say enough about it. I really like it. And then going forward, I think we'll, and we'll be talking in the future of how we continue to do some of the advertising or outreach and be strategic, but I'm really pleased with how it turned out this year. And so I just want to commend staff as well as, the agency that helped us. So thanks. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, that I echo those sentiments. It was very, very good. Very good. Thank you. Next.
Well, okay, that brings us to our 2022 district event report, and Melissa will be providing the update on this item as well. So Melissa, please continue.
Great, and thank you for those comments on the previous item. So yes, I am happy to provide an update on the district's annual community event, our Water Harvest Festival, and I will be referencing packet pages 73 and 74 for this report. So every year during the fall, the district opens its doors to the public at the Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility to host an event that educates the public about water issues as well as our available programs, provide tours of our water recycling facility, and it is essentially the biggest opportunity during the year to engage with and interact with our community members in our service area. So this year's festival will be a return to the in-person version of the event, and will focus on the 75th anniversary of West Basin's formation as a district. So in order for staff to successfully and effectively plan and implement this event this year, staff will be distributing 2 requests for proposals through the district bid system, with the intention of onboarding 2 different types of consultants, with West Basin staff serving as the project manager, overseeing successful implementation of the day-to-day coordination and production. So you'll see listed on packet page 73 the 2 different types of consultants, of an event coordinator in order to manage the day-to-day coordination of logistics and ensure timely completion of tasks with West Basin staff, as well as our event production company to provide materials needed to create essentially the ambiance and the tone of the event. So some examples being floor plans, adequate audiovisual equipment, tents, stage, shade coverage, all of those things, as well as provide any needed staff to support West Basin's leads during the actual event day. So setup, tear down, check-in process, all of those things. So these 2 types of contracts would support West Basin staff, again, in the successful implementation of its first in-person festival in 2 years, which in prior years has attracted up to 1,200 people on our facility grounds. So staff anticipated the community's eagerness to return to large in-person events and included this type of contract support in the draft fiscal year 2022 to 2023 budget for the Public Information and Education Department. Again, this will allow staff to function as the ultimate project manager of the festival while continuing to support other district priorities and events that will be taking place throughout the year. All right, so moving along to the event planning timeline. So planning for this large scale event typically takes most of the calendar year, with procurement discussions and efforts beginning in the spring season, and key planning milestones scheduled throughout the summer and fall months. So as is done every year, staff will and is happy to provide regular updates to the general manager's office as well as the board to provide opportunities to gather input and feedback on the planning process elements. So the general event planning timeline is outlined on packet page 74 in table 1. And so you can see how the months lay out there in terms of our general planning milestones throughout the year. So in closing, staff is excited to kick off this planning of this momentous event. Again, it's not only our return to an in-person community event of this size, but also a celebration of a major milestone in the district's history. It is a big deal, and we are looking forward to creating an excellent program. So with that, I conclude my report. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any comments or questions at this time.
Thank you very much. Question, will any of the contractors and vendors that were on board for our last in-person event, are they going to be invited? Have they been, or will they be invited to participate, to propose on any of the activities of this event?
Yes, definitely. I'll work with the procurement team in order to pull all of our contacts and lists of all of our event production contacts and vendors that we've worked with in the past, and definitely send them out a note that we will be going out to bid for this event.
Very good. As I recall, that our last event was an outstanding event. It was very good. I mean, it was just, I just don't remember when we had so much fun with the tents being placed the way they were. It really provided for the right environment for everyone to feel comfortable out there and be excited about coming back. Although we didn't get back because of, but I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure that the rest of our directors are excited about that too. So Director Houston.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chair. And just a couple things really quick. I'm just rattling off notes on my paper here. So one is we need to look at the date for this, and I think, I don't know when you guys look at that for, you're going to go out to bid, but just on my calendar, there's a couple of things in October that you got to be cautious of, because I know we like to do it usually the weekend before Halloween, typically, which this year is the 22nd, October 22nd. But just so you know, at least what I have, October 15th, the week prior, is I think it's Taste of Soul.
Yes,
So
that's correct.
Yeah, so sometimes we have, you know, if we have a booth there and or we have people that want to go to that, that's a conflict. So that's number one, keep in mind. And it's really hard to do two big events at the same time, knowing that ours takes precedent for what we've got to do. But secondarily, the week before on the 8th is WEFTech. And so some of us end up traveling that weekend toward WEFTech. So those two, in my mind, are pretty much kind of not on the calendar for me. But I like the idea of the 22nd. Worst case, maybe the 1st. So I'm just putting it out there right now for you guys planning purposes. But I don't know, when do you set that date? This month or next month? When does the board, because we all weigh in on this.
Yes, so typically we want to circle that around the same time that we are bringing the event production company request back to the board. But yeah, those are the considerations we're taking into account. So definitely jotted those dates down. I had Taste of Soul in mind. So we'll work with the Office of the General Manager to make sure that the dates that we are selecting or putting out there are obviously available for all of the board members. We obviously want everyone there helping celebrate the event.
Perfect. And then a couple more things really quick, because I see you've got the budget already in place that we had. And so I do think that we should look at securing sponsorships of some level this year again, kind of get back into that just to offset some of our costs. That would be great. Parking is going to be probably a little more of a challenge now with Topgolf next door utilizing the one strip of a parking lot. So you all will work with them, but I also know you have the off-site parking at a garage further out in El Segundo that you all have used. So we just know it's going to be a little more tricky this year, and it's a Saturday, so I'm sure Topgolf will be busy as well, for what it's worth. But my last two things is I still love when we do a fall theme. I mean, I know we're going to be celebrating 75 years, but it is fall, and you guys usually have the costume contest or different things, so you'll get in keeping with that. And lastly, I have had a lot of folks that really love the reptiles, so I don't know if that's an option, but the reptile tank or petting tank or whatever it is, that's very, very popular. So I think if that can be there, it seems like that one's one of the ones that people really enjoyed. So with that, I echo what Chair Williams said. I think we're really looking forward to getting back. And of course, this is our 75th anniversary. So there's a lot to celebrate and a lot kind of riding on this event being a really good one this year. So looking forward to that.
Thank you. And, timing is everything. And, but as Director Houston indicated, that our events take priority over the other ones. So we take the top spot on the calendar. And there's nothing wrong with good events happening at the same time, and especially when they're happening in different parts of the county or the city or the region. Okay? So don't let that get in the way. Thank you. Anyone else? Director Deere, I see you. Did I see your hand go up?
It did. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, but what I was going to comment on the date, and I'd ask if they'd set a date. 22nd sounds good to me, but that's all I had. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And Director Gray.
No, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. All right, I guess we'll go on to the next item.
Thank you.
And thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Chair Williams. So that brings us to information item C, and we have Janelle who will provide the report out on our 2022 Water is Life Student Art Contest Program Summary. So with that, I will hand it over to Janelle.
Thank you very much, Greg, and good afternoon again, Chair Williams and members of the board and committee. I will be covering agenda item 6C, starting on page 75 of the agenda packet for a program summary of West Basin's 2022 Local Water is Life Student Art Contest. So again, West Basin hosts our local art contest every year to encourage service area students to depict water-wise usage in their home schools and communities. The 15 winners we identified through our local art contest will move on to Met's regional art contest and be considered against students from all of Met's member agencies to be featured in their yearly art calendar. So today we're going to focus on a program summary of, again, West Basin's local art contest. So our art contest launched on January 10 with the submission deadline on March 18. This year we received 850 submissions, which is actually a significant increase from last year where we received 439 submissions. So let's move on to page 78 of the agenda packet, or the first page of our presentation. So like I said earlier, this year we saw a 93% increase in participation, and we hope to maintain this level of engagement in future years. We implemented several program updates that minimize participation barriers for both our underserved and underrepresented schools. This included the first ever Spanish translated guidelines and entry forms, increased advertising in our underrepresented communities, and in-person and virtual art lessons offered to both teachers and community organizations, and last but not least, free art supply kits to our underserved schools, such as those that receive Title I federal funding to support our low-income students. On the following page, you will see our program timeline, and I wanted to thank again all of the directors for submitting their votes and helping us select our grand prize winners in a timely manner. We'll be sharing those grand prize winners later on in our presentation. Moving on to page 80, where you can see an example of our promotion, and noting that many of our school partners, including El Segundo Unified School District, as you can see in the left photo, promoted our art contest via social media. The right image is an ad that we sent out through School News Roll Call. Moving on to the next page for a quick overview of the free art lessons that staff provided both virtually and in person to both schools and community organizations. So this photo is actually from an in-person art lesson with the Manhattan Beach After School program, and we're able to serve 1,078 students through 35 art lessons. A full list of art lessons by date, location, and West Basin division is included as attachment B. On the next page, we can see an overview of all of our free art supplies. Again, only underserved classes in schools that receive a majority of Title I funding or are located in a disadvantaged community were eligible. We were able to distribute 44 art supply kits serving 1,307 students. And this photo specifically is from 156th Street Elementary School in Gardena. You can see how happy they were with all of their art supplies. A full list of schools that received art supply kits is included as attachment C of the agenda packet. And moving on to the next page for the participation summary broken down by grade level category and division. So another one for this year is that we have record-breaking participation from Division 2. Again, the Division 2 had the highest number of submissions, but also again, quite a significant increase from participation last year. The following page, packet page 84 now, also has a breakdown between both physical and online submissions, where we still had a significant number of submissions that we received online via email. So even as we move out of the pandemic and students are in person, we still plan to offer both options for future art contests that we continue to be equitable and be flexible as that offering for students. Next page on packet page 85, which showcases two different pie charts of participation across our 5 divisions between this year and last year. So you can see that we're able to increase participation across most of our divisions, and we'll continue to adjust our program offerings to continue to reach our underrepresented and underserved schools. The next few pages will showcase the participation reports for each division, starting with Division 1 on page 86. And the schools noted with an asterisk are a new participating school for this school year. So for Division 1, we had 206 entries from 23 schools. On the next page for Division 2, we had 228 entries from 13 schools in Division 2, and a majority of these are from new participating schools as well, so that's something good to note. Next page, on packet page 88, we had 88 entries from 21 schools in Division 3. Moving on to the following page, where we saw 146 entries from 19 schools in Division 4. And again, really happy that we are able to receive a number of entries from Larchmont Charter all the way in West Hollywood. So glad we're expanding our reach in our service area. And finally, going over to packet page 90, where we had 182 entries from 15 schools in Division 5. So we'll move on to view our student winners starting on page 91 of the agenda packet, highlighting the beautiful artwork of our grand prize winners that were selected by our board and sponsors. We have some great drought focus messaging, as you can see here, that is very relevant as we have seen the situation become more dire. On packet page 92, we have our wonderful honorable mention winners in elementary school, and you could see their wonderful artwork. Moving on to packet page 93, showcasing our honorable mention winners in middle school. And last but not least, on packet page 94, showcasing our honorable mention winners in high school. So again, all of our student winners will receive, or they have already received, an Apple iPad, with the grand prize winners additionally receiving a pencil and $25 gift card for applications. We do plan to recognize all of our student winners through a press release this week and through several social media posts over the next month. We also just uploaded a video on YouTube where each of our student winners explains the inspiration behind their artwork. There's some really wonderful videos in there, so please check that out if you're interested. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions?
Really
Director
quick.
Houston?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for the thorough report, Janelle. And of course, I'm excited that so many folks participated this year, and hopefully we can keep it somewhere up in that range going forward. Because I also know what's been difficult is some of the teachers have been retiring, that have helped us over the years in the art programs and such. And so it's hard to always identify a new person at the different schools. But for what it's worth, you guys did a great job getting participation. And so I guess because of the nature of everything, we're not going to have our usual opportunity to recognize the students or their parents in person.
We decided not to pursue an in-person recognition event at this time, again, just because we're still kind of teetering on the edge of returning to in-person, which is why we moved forward with creating that video that was just uploaded on YouTube, where you could see all of the students share the inspiration behind their artwork. But again, hoping that next year we'll be able to move forward with an in-person recognition event.
Okay, very good. Well, if you all could maybe send a copy of the link to the video to us, because I didn't hear about it yet, so that's great. And then maybe what we could do is perhaps, at least, I don't want to speak for all the other directors, but maybe we could each write, if we have the opportunity to write a note that you could have staff mail to the winners, because I'm really proud of the artwork all the way around, but obviously by division, we want to recognize the ones in our area. So if we can't see them in person, maybe we could, staff could work with us to write little notes or something, and we could send them a note in the mail to them for helping out, okay?
Sure, I will work with the administration department to organize that.
Very good. And one last thing, I think you guys sent us an email about Metropolitan is doing something as well. That's virtual.
So the email that was sent, I believe, on Tuesday evening or afternoon was regarding our Solar Cup competition.
Solar Cup.
Yes, so Solar Cup is going to, or Metropolitan is going to host a recognition event this evening, starting at 4:30 p.m. online.
Okay. See, look at that. I remember I saw it. I just didn't have time to really pay attention to it. Okay, so I more than likely can't jump on that, but that's Solar Cup. So then down the road, Met will probably do something once they get their winners, okay, wonderful. See, I'm just trying to stay on top of the calendar here.
Yes. Typically, Met hosts typically Met hosts their student recognition event in December for their art calendar.
Good, good. All right, well, for what it's worth, I'm really, really happy, but I just want to have the opportunity when we get a chance to try and recognize the students that we would normally bring to the office and make a big deal of it. So we'll get the notes out somehow. All right, great. Thank you very much.
Okay, and that moves us to the next item, which would be,
Can I make a comment?
of course. I didn't see your hand, but go ahead.
I can't raise my hand, I'm on the phone, so that's the disadvantage of being on the phone. But I just want to say thank you to Janelle, because I heard that there was an increased participation from Division 2. I believe I heard that, and so I wanted to thank you, because that's really good news, and I know a lot of it has to do with staff working very hard with the schools to make sure that happens. So I just wanted to make that acknowledgement. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Director Deere.
Well, you know, I agree with all the comments that have been made by my colleagues, and I'm glad to see Division 5 is having a good share of the effort. And I appreciate the effort by the staff to do this. Good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's see, is anyone else out there? I guess that's all of us. Thank you very much, Janelle. Outstanding. Next item.
Okay, well, thank you, Chair Williams. That brings us to our communications update. And I'm pleased to introduce our Manager of Communications, Amy Rocha, who will give that update. Amy.
Thank you, Greg. Good afternoon, members of the committee and directors. Let me see here. I'm spotlighted. Okay. So I'm going to start at packet page 101 for the presentation. Thank you. If we skip ahead to 101, I'll just start with just an overview of our press releases. So just this month, we focused on for the month of April, we focused on our careers panel. And I'll speak to that in a moment, but we did put out an announcement there, as well as a web news story that talked about our Earth Month campaign and, you know, just the current messaging behind continuing to encourage water savings, and included all of the graphics from the campaign there. As far as media coverage, on packet page 102, you can see some of the highlights that we had. So I just want to point out a few things right here on this coverage. So one, this includes our the Spectrum News 1 feature about the water recycling facility, where Uzi and Gerald Ramos Young were featured. And then this had an initial airing viewership of a little bit over 200,000 people, and then particularly 186,000 in the West region. So coverage actually reached all of LA County, and it had multiple airings over a few days. So I know we've talked about this at various points in previous meetings, but I just wanted to mention those numbers. Also, I wanted to point out just the USC News. Surprised there was actually 2.6 million viewers on that. It was just a mention about West Basin rain barrel program that one of their staff members had gotten a rain barrel as part of their efforts to, be sustainable at home. But I was impressed by the reach of USC. And then also just noting here, obviously this was just happened this week, but we did have our KTLA feature talking about, current drought conditions and how West Basin is, contributing by encouraging, water savings across our service area. And Director Houston, thank you very much for being so quickly available. Media relations opportunities come up quick, and we got to, jump on them to take advantage. So did a great job as spokesperson, not only on behalf of what West Basin is doing, but, kind of representing what we're doing at large as the water industry in Southern California. And so viewership for that airing is a little bit more, almost 87,000 people. And the ad value there is estimated at $1,400 per 30 seconds. So just mentioning, I shared a link from this new proprietary service that we have. And so we're starting to look at ways that we can use that to kind of give more of these numbers about the value that what these, earned media opportunities are providing for the district. So bear with us as we kind of work out that tool and work to provide more details, because I like being able to present real value there. And if we move ahead to the next packet page 103, you can just see some other coverage we garnered throughout the month. So Manhattan Beach Earth Day, they had a workshop, they had some ads placed in some of the local news as well, some social media ads. Our logo is on there, and Gus Mesa was our representative on that panel. And then in addition, got some traction out of that Spectrum News story about water recycling, because the Water Reuse California newsletter highlighted the link and pointed out, that was information available. So we're happy to see that in our that roundup there to the industry. Similarly, on the Water District Jobs e-newsletter distribution, there was, just promotion of our panel on a couple of different occasions on April 21 and one other time throughout the month, and as well as some videos that were provided. And Janelle, if you're still on the line, just quickly, in the interest of time, just a brief snapshot of anything you wanted to add about that career panel.
Sure, thank you very much. So just recapping some previous board communication and committee presentations, our panel was held on April 29, recognizing our water resources engineer, Camille Castillo, and WRD's government affairs representative. Panel was well attended with 137 attendees from both West Basin and WRD's service areas. So some schools to note: Lawndale High School, South Bay Workforce Investment Board's Youth Build Program, Cal State Dominguez Hills, Arena High School in El Segundo. So we had a great turnout for our careers panel, and we'll continue to promote the value of this program moving forward, and more information to come at our July regular education update to the board. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Janelle. Great work in collaborating and leading that. And then on the next PowerPoint slide, or packet page 104, I just wanted to touch on drought. Obviously, a lot evolving right now. So just this was at the time of submission, just a little recap of what's been going on. So Melissa covered the spring Super Cali Advertisement campaign. I do just want to point out, through Lola, they submitted a Communicators Award submission, an awards program aimed at independent agencies, and we were awarded the silver. So we'll get some more details on that, kind of just new coming, but it was great to see kind of this collaboration and not only the great work that they're doing, but some of the extra reach we're getting with some award recognition. So really happy with that partnership right now. In addition, we're just, with the final months of our fiscal year. So working with the water use efficiency program managers to, see what we can push out, especially in relation to the grass rebate program, the public agency program. And then of course, we were pleased to see that we exhausted our funds and met our goals for the grass replacement plus. In addition, I've just been continuing to make updates to our webpage and drought webpage, particularly about various announcements, putting things into context, especially as it relates to, what Metropolitan's announcement means for West Basin. So we're staying on top of that, as well as actively participating in our industry association and, work groups. So MET-PIO meeting, Aqua, both in the communications committee, as well as, at the conferences, and even our water reuse work group that we have too. There's always great ways to kind of understand what people are doing in the arena of PIs. In addition, we have more, education and outreach planned. We've got our Know Your H2O classes. We had our March session on May 18th. We'll have our Know Your H2O Water Save California themed drought presentation. We actually have interest from Hawthorne TV, the community TV channel that wants to come and talk with our crew, which will be led by Daryl Ramos Young and Melissa Buendia. In addition, we have a May 25th chat, so the virtual Q&A for members of the community to ask specific questions, in this case about the grass rebate program, so they can have their specific questions answered. So we're continuing to promote that. And then finally, our recycled water education. We've resumed in-person tours. June 11th is our next tour. Like I mentioned, we've had some TV coverage recently to talk about, what recycled water means, for the drought and how that's what West Basin's doing. That's our part. And then we try to segue into what, the residents and businesses can do on their part, which is take advantage of our water use efficiency programs. So that's always great. And then Daryl and Janelle leading the charge with our school tours, creating little water ambassadors with our students. And Janelle gave a great summary of, some of our key programs there. So those continue. On packet page 105, just kind of looking ahead at what we're planning for the drought. So obviously working with the Water Policy and Resources Development Group in terms of their outreach to the retailers and service area cities. I know we have a work group coming up. We'll invite some PIOs as well. So we're kind of all on the same page, sharing information and just staying in touch about kind of where we stand with latest, governor or state, regional actions. We have some speaking opportunities that have come up, just a sampling listed here. We're going to look at all that great artwork that Janelle just presented and leverage that. There's some really strong, beautiful water conservation messages and artwork that I think will be very dynamic, and we could, somehow work into our outreach and our communications platforms. And then really, I know things are evolving a little bit right now, but we're definitely, it's already mid-May, but what does summer look like for us? What does our outreach involve? How can we step up our game with media relations, with potential events? So again, that's a collaboration, but we'll be working with the Office of the General Manager to move that forward. And then in addition, just a continuation of our water use efficiency programs, tours, and classes. And then I know we'll be talking about the water shortage contingency plan, which has a communications component. So again, just collaboration and seeing how we find creative ways to communicate about the drought. People are confused sometimes, or there's fatigue, and we got to keep it creative. And I'm really liking the positivity of our supercalifrugalistic. It's meant to be encouraging and upbeat. And so then just moving along, again, more of a look ahead, I'll skip to packet page 107. So some of this we've already covered, so I'm just going to skip ahead to the event planning. One event we're looking at is a with West Basin as this regional role, this wholesaler role, really partnering with the city of Culver City and inviting some key members that were involved with their urban runoff project that received funding from Metropolitan, as well as a pilot program from Met. So really applauding our Culver City stakeholder for the work that they're doing in the realm of urban water runoff and stormwater capture. So we'll be sharing some information with the board about that event that West Basin is helping to lead and collaborate with the city. In addition, I believe Frank Fuchs had already updated about a postponement of the Southwest College. So just note that I'm going to take this off and keep that in the radar for future when that project is ready for full, celebration. We already covered water harvest. And then finally, again, just we'll be working with Gus and the water use efficiency team about those rain barrel events that we collaborate on. And then also we have some 75th anniversary milestones coming up. We have a video in production as well as a collateral piece that's meant to be commemorative. So we'll provide more information once that's ready. But again, just giving you a look ahead about some of the things that will be coming up. And then finally, I'll conclude with just, in the interest of time, just brief overview of our highlights. So on packet page 109, you can see some social media efforts, around with our partnerships with South Bay and Earth Month. So again, the Manhattan Beach workshop got a bit of coverage there. Facebook on packet page 110. Again, our drought art water contest information, just lovely to look at and always feel good working with the students. On packet page 111, really trying to get some visuals with our engineering and ops team. I know there was a really awesome time-lapse video that was presented at our staff appreciation event. And so trying to look for visuals like that to be able to showcase what our projects are looking like. So in this case, this is our Juanita Millinder McDonald Carson Regional Water Recycling Plant that's doing its phase 2 expansion. On Twitter, more of the same, some more images, action shots of our people at work. And then the LinkedIn, just honoring our National Environmental Education Week. And there's Daryl there in the corner with his students. So always nice to show staff at work as well. And part of attachment B, which I will not be going over, is just the CLIPS handout for you to look at your convenience. So that concludes my report. I'm happy to take any feedback or questions that you may have. Thank you.
Yes, very good report there. How about us winning the silver award? Can you tell us why we didn't win the gold?
Oh, you know what? It's given us something to strive for. I'll have to get more details about who that winner is, and then we'll have to judge for ourselves. But yeah, I'll get more information.
Because I think we're goal worthy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next report. Before we do that, Mr. General Manager.
I do have a question.
Yeah,
Hello?
just a minute. I'm going to have to go, and I'm going to turn the gavel over to Director Houston. But before you take the gavel, we want to hear from Director Gray.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Amy, thank you for that very thorough report. I do have a question on, I believe it's a workshop that WRD and West Basin participated in together. That was an educational recruitment workshop, right?
Correct. I mean, it was more meant to educate people, students,
Right.
particularly about career paths.
Right. Right. So do you have any, are there any stats from that, from the attendees in terms of what district it came from, or any demographics, ethnic information on them to see kind of who tuned in, because it was on Zoom, right? Or was it in person?
It was virtual, and we do. And Janelle, if there's anything you want to add, I know you'd mentioned a couple of actually names already that I think relate to Division 2. So if you want to just highlight any of that at the moment, if you have it.
Yes, from Division 2, we had a group of students coming from South Bay Workforce Investment Board's Youth Build program. So it's actually a GED program through the Workforce Investment Board. And in total for the panel, 137 attendees showed up to the virtual event. And we will be able to provide that detailed information to the board at a later committee meeting. But we can also provide a participation summary to the board via email after today's meeting as well.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Very much interested in looking at that information. So thank you.
Okay, great. Mr. Chair, I think, is he still here? You're gone. Oh, there you are.
I'm leaving.
Okay, he's leaving. Okay, well, all right, so I'll go ahead and take over real quick. I do have one question for you, Amy, and thank you for a very thorough report. You mentioned one of the speaking opportunities coming up was with an association of realtors. Which association was that one?
This is in the Palos Verdes area. Let me see here. I think it's May 18th if it's coming up. I plan to present. If anybody is interested, I'll make sure to send the details. I think it's just a general update about who West Basin is and drought. So just in the interest of responding, I plan to present, but happy to co-present or make sure everyone has the details on that. I'm sorry,
Great.
May 19th is the date.
Oh, it's May 19th. What day of the week is that?
Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday. Okay. But this is Palos Verdes area. So it's up on the hill.
It's a virtual event, and I believe that they may draw various realtors. So I'll send over the details about that as well.
Okay, could you? Okay. But again, it's not the South Bay Association of Realtors. It's something more specific, I guess, in Palos Verdes.
Yes, it's meant for Palos Verdes, but let me get more detail about how broadly their membership comes.
Perfect.
I think we have a Speakers Bureau form in the works.
Okay, good. And just so you all know, because I'm talking to a number of folks here and there, so I know that between my cities and community groups and or even some realtors that we'll be having some speaking opportunities down the road, but I just didn't want to make sure it was one that I was looking at in a different part. So, but yeah, just send that over to the board so we are aware. I think that'd be great. And it's good that people are understanding we have the opportunities at this point. So that's great. Okay, thank you very much. And thanks, Amy. Any other questions? I don't think there's any on this one. All right. Okay, so we will move to the next item. And that is item 6E, the report on water storage contingency plan shortage response actions.
Yes, and we have our Manager of Water Policy and Resources Development, Mr. E.J. Caldwell, who will provide that report for the committee. E.J.
Yes, thank you, Greg, Chairman Houston, members of the committee and board. And this is a very timely report. As you just heard from our public information team, we have been very, I hate to use the term aggressive, but very progressive as far as identifying opportunities to really promote what West Basin Municipal Water District is doing, the current drought conditions, and the future of our climate, and then, of course, what's available to the communities that we serve. So I'm going to begin talking a little bit about what's happening in the state of California, and then I'm going to hone in on our regional and even our local areas to talk a little bit about the water shortage contingency plans and the actions that have been taken. So most of you know that in the summer of 2021, Governor Newsom called for a voluntary reduction in statewide water use by 15%. And it's very important to note that when we talk about statewide water demand and a 15% reduction, that is in fact what they were looking for. Different communities through land use and different types of water usage and water supplies have different opportunities to reduce their overall demand. And so when you look at a statewide goal of 15%, it becomes very achievable, even though one community might have very little ability to reduce their demand. There's always a balancing factor of a community that can definitely do a number of great things to reduce. Since that time, the state of California has experienced historic dry conditions, specifically related to the winter that we all hoped it would be. You might recall that in December we had great precipitation in our mountains and, of course, rainfall here in Southern California. And we really thought that maybe the year would be better than we anticipated. But since that time, we've basically had 5 months of extreme heat and dry conditions. On March 28th, Governor Newsom ordered the California Water Resources Control Board to consider a ban on watering decorative, or as we would call it, ornamental grass around all commercial, industrial, and institutional buildings. Now, that has not been done yet, but I think it sets the stage for what California may do as this drought conditions worsen. But I also wanted to highlight this, that as part of that declaration and that call to action, he did call on all local water suppliers to move to what is a level 2 of their water shortage contingency plans. So when you think about that, and I'll put it in perspective for West Basin here in a minute, it's a specific request for every single retail agency to move to that level 2 shortage. And then I'm going to mention this because it'll provide great context, that in response to reductions on the State Water Project, Metropolitan Water District, on April 26th through a unanimously adopted resolution, basically required any agency that is a State Water Project dependent portion of the Metropolitan Water District service area to reduce their water demand by 35%. Now, of course, that's referring to the imported water supplies of the State Water Project. But as part of that resolution, they did provide 2 methods of compliance. One would be to simply enact and enforce a 1 day per week of irrigating outdoor water usage. Or 2, you would take a volumetric reduction, 35% of your Met supplies. So you'd reduce that. And then, of course, you'd be in compliance. And I highlight that just to show some of the factors that West Basin will be looking at as we begin to implement different stages of our water shortage contingency plan. Because if you can imagine, to the north of us, along the coast, you do have Callegas Municipal Water District. Just adjacent to the Malibu and Topanga area, you have Las Virgenes Municipal Water District. And then, of course, partly to the north and of course to the east, you have the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. All three of those agencies are considered to be state water project dependent areas, and all three of those agencies will have to comply with that resolution and that requirement for reduction. And I think that brings us down to where West Basin Municipal Water District is. And for those members of the public that are watching this video or listening to us live, I just want to point out that the West Basin Municipal Water District has not just been taking the drought conditions very seriously, but have been kind of at the forefront of taking action. So if you go back to the adoption of the State Water Resources, or excuse me, the Water Shortage Contingency Plan, which happened just over the summer in, I believe, May, and then sent to the State Water Resources Control Board in June, West Basin jumped out and was one of the first agencies to enact and enforce, or I guess I should say activate, their Water Shortage Contingency Plan, going to a stage 1. Then in November, as we saw what was happening at Metropolitan Water District, and as we saw the impacts that would likely happen to the state water project dependent areas, West Basin's Board of Directors took great leadership in activating a level 3 shortage of their water shortage contingency plan. Now, what this means, and you can find this actually in our board packet, I believe it's packet page 123, because I'd like to read it verbatim. When you look at a stage or shortage level 3, it says that at this shortage level, West Basin will implement and expand one or more of the shortage response actions listed for a stage 1 to achieve demand reduction target of 30%. So what this means is that right now we are asking for voluntary actions from all of the communities within the West Basin service area. We are targeting a 30% reduction. And that's why in the presentation that we saw just before this, you've seen a huge upswing in the amount of outreach and media attention provided to West Basin, and all of the great actions that we are doing here to really drive home the importance of doing everything you can, whether it's a household, a commercial business, or some of the industrial users in the West Basin service area. It's really going to take a little bit of everything in order to achieve that. If you turn to packet page 124, you see some of the communication protocols that are outlined within the Water Shortage Contingency Plan specific to a level 1 and a level 2 communication protocols. Amy, our manager of communications, has done an excellent job working with her team to really utilize West Basin's website to provide up-to-date information, as well as highlight kind of some of the opportunities that any individual would have as far as reducing their water demand. Social media, we continue to be very active there, print and digital advertising and marketing, and then of course community outreach. But as I mentioned, our board of directors in November, despite the fact that we are entering into what potentially would have been a very wet winter, we did take that action to jump to a stage 3. And if you turn to packet page 125, you can see that communication protocols that are included there in a stage 3. A lot of them are the same, but it's kind of the frequency and how you utilize those tools really that makes the action, I think, what it is. The purpose of this item, and of course our chairman, Director Houston, and I believe Director Desi Alvarez, who's not here today, you asked for a report kind of to see where we are. So we wanted to bring this to you, but of course we want to put it in perspective. And if you turn to the bottom of packet page 126, you can see kind of a laundry list of items of where West Basin is, what we're doing, and again, that call for voluntary reductions. It's very difficult. Some of the members of the community get a little bit confused. You have the governor calling for a 15% statewide reduction. You do have Metropolitan Water District calling for specific action for the state water project dependent areas. And then of course you have West Basin Municipal Water District, who in and of itself is not a state water project dependent agency. However, and I wanted to highlight this today to dispel maybe some of the confusion, portions of the West Basin service area will be impacted. Obviously, the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, as I mentioned earlier, is state water project dependent, and they do serve a couple of different portions of the West Basin service area. This includes a portion of the city of Beverly Hills, a small portion of Culver City, and then of course the area known as Playa Vista, just to the north of here, and a little bit east of Marina del Rey. So those communities will fall under the LADWP agreement to comply with the Metropolitan Water District resolution. And I think some of us had the opportunity to see that Mayor Garcetti did just announce their intention to comply with a volumetric approach. And they did ask their communities to reduce outdoor landscape irrigation to 2 days per week. So when you put that all together, you do have a lot of different factors hitting our communities, a lot of questions. Amy and her team, as well as my team, we've been fielding phone calls left and right and really asking for these opportunities to come and address those communities directly, whether it be at a city council presentation or of course through the media. But as you turn to packet page 127, I just wanted to highlight several different aspects of what West Basin Municipal Water District has been doing to really promote and educate people about what a stage level 3 is. So you can see that we've been utilizing the West Basin's district quarterly water resiliency work group meetings. This is something that Gus Mesa and Jennifer Vasquez have been utilizing for years, but really honing in with our retailers to find out what they're doing and of course what West Basin is doing and how we can work together. We've been collaborating with the service area cities and the South Bay Cities Council of Governments. Again, we had that partnership agreement come forward today, so it's very timely. But we worked with their executive director at the very end of 2021, and we're working with them now to again attend a South Bay COG executive board meeting to promote not just where we are within the drought, but of course our water use efficiency program, so that every municipality has that opportunity to engage with West Basin and take advantage of a lot of the rebates and programs that we have geared towards every part of our service area. Again, we always talk about this when it comes to water use efficiency, but our water use efficiency experts build programs that fit the needs of every part of our service area, whether it's the large landscapes in Malibu or the Palos Verdes Peninsula, or maybe the denser areas in Gardena, Hawthorne, Hermosa, and Manhattan Beach. We're always looking for programs that really meet their needs. We've enhanced our rebates. As I just mentioned, you will not at this time find a greater rebate than in the West Basin service area. Minimally, you'll get that $3 per square foot, but depending on where you are, you can get for municipalities up to $4 and possibly even $6 for residents and municipalities seeking to remove turf. We've applied with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation for a grant to supplement West Basin's grass replacement rebate program. Again, that program was developed during our level 1 storage shortage in order to really promote water use efficiency in our underserved communities. So really bolstering that rebate and of course offering additional services. We've developed a new program component to the Malibu and Topanga Smart, really trying to hit those large landscape programs. We're now bringing forward a agreement with the SoCal Gas Company. This is through a partnership with Metropolitan Water District, where SoCal Gas West Basin would promote not just water use efficiency, but also electric and of course gas saving devices in our homes. We're reviewing our retail agency water shortage contingency plans. We actually have one of our quarterly meetings coming up at the end of this month. And what we've had staff do is analyze all of their shortage contingency plans, analyze specifically what's identified under their stage 2 as called upon by the governor, so that West Basin can provide each retailer the resources that they might need to help promote opportunities to conserve water. If you turn to packet page 128, you can see several of the different things, some of which you've already heard about here with Amy's report, but really pushing hard on the supercalifragilistic outreach and advertising campaign, our drought page and website, is up to date at this moment. We've had hosted periodic communications briefings for all of the public information officers throughout the West Basin service area. We're conducting multiple Know Your H2O classes. Again, we always see an uptick in the amount of applications that we get and receive for grass replacement after a grass replacement class. So making sure that those classes continue and we continue to provide those things. We work with our consultant to develop a targeted outreach campaign in priority areas for the district's grass replacement plus program. So getting into those communities so that we educate everybody about what it is we're offering. We've issued multiple press releases, and we're in the process right now of writing multiple op-ed pieces that will be geared towards promoting what West Basin Municipal Water District is doing, but of course, dedicated to the communities that those op-eds will be printed and read in so that they know what they can do within their communities. And last but not least, as far as things that we've done, I wanted to highlight the operational changes. West Basin obviously has a great engineering and operations department that geared towards ensuring water supply flows to the West Basin service area, but really working closely with Metropolitan Water District. We've been able to make the operational changes that have allowed us to take Colorado River water. West Basin is one of the unique agencies. We can receive water from either the State Water Project or Colorado River. West Basin could very easily be one of those State Water Project dependent areas. But because of the operational shifts that we've been able to work out with Metropolitan Water District, we were really saved for that. And I want to reiterate that point. We could very easily be in the same situation as any of those agencies that I mentioned at the very top of this presentation. So when we hear about what's going on at Las Vegas Municipal Water District, even LA Department of Water and Power, I really want to say that West Basin staff has been working very closely with them to make sure that our messaging mirrors their messaging, that we're pushing forward on programs and opportunities at Metropolitan Water District that will help all of our communities. And so if you turn the page to packet page 129, we've identified several of the different things that West Basin can and will be doing. Again, we'll be providing a targeted outreach to the communities that we have in multi-different languages in order to provide everybody the opportunity to conserve. We're going to look at potentially hosting town halls. Las Virgenes really stepped up as far as leadership goes and has been working on doing similar things. We're going to continue to work with our retail partners. Obviously, as a wholesaler, we don't have that direct contact always with the individual end users or water users. So making sure that all of our water retailers have the opportunities to partner with West Basin and utilize our collateral. We'll continue to seek out partnerships with local water suppliers like Metropolitan Water District. We're going to develop a Cii Outreach Campaign. Again, when you really want to make significant water reductions, nothing can be better than your commercial, industrial, and institutional end users. Jennifer Vasquez on our water use efficiency team has been doing a great job of working with each of our municipalities to identify opportunities for turf replacement. You will never find another place to remove as much turf as with a city or a school. And so there presents great opportunities. And we're continuing to work with the general manager, who's done an excellent job of really identifying what's happening around us regionally and the great opportunities. You know, when we put out our press release calling for a 30% reduction, a lot of our communities have reached out to us to say, what can they do? And so we're contemplating some opportunities as far as voluntary actions by our municipalities, whether that be a reduction in outdoor water landscaping down to that 2 days, similar to what LADWP is implementing. That would be something that we could work with as far as our municipalities, and also utilizing city council presentations where we can make a very specific call to action for that reduction and for shared opportunities to really market utilizing their publications, their electronic and digital signage in each of the cities, and really trying to find a way to reach their customers. Because the one thing that I know within the West Basin service area is that we have very engaged communities, and we have communities that want to do the right thing and they want to take action. So we're going to continue to do everything that we can, but I do want to point out that West Basin's Board of Directors have taken the bold actions to really lead from the front, to jump out to a level 3. Well, when at this time, I'm not sure that I'm aware of any other than maybe Las Virgenes Municipal Water District that's at that level 3. So we're going to continue as staff to take direction from the board of directors, work with our general manager to implement the several things that you've seen in this board memo. But we would love to have feedback, not just today, but of course in the future as well from the board of directors. So with that, Mr. General Manager, that completes my report, but I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Let me, real quick, before I open up the other questions, EJ, you mentioned we put out a press release about 30% voluntary. When did we do that?
So I believe we put out a press release in November, and I think that the focus of that press release was geared towards the level 3 shortage level. Again, I think that there has been confusion as far as what we were seeking. If you look at the water shortage contingency plan, again, it's very clear that we're seeking up to a 30% reduction. It's not a mandate. We are not implementing any sort of rationing, but we are working within our service area to find that reduction.
Okay, got it. Yeah, last November, right? Okay, I forgot. It's been so long, to be honest with you, but you are right. We were one of the first that went to a level 3, I think, in the whole region. So, all right, let's do this. Let me open it up to questions from my colleagues or comments first. So, I don't know if I see Director Deere.
No comments. Thank you. Good report. Thank you.
Okay, great. And then Director Gray, anything? If she's still there. Director Gray.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. EJ, thank you for that report. And can you hear me? I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. I'm really pleased that we're kind of out front with this because, you know, we all know it's very important. So at what point do we need to know when we may be having a discussion about, you know, the twice a week or once a week watering and looking at some restrictions in our area? So that's the question to EJ and the general manager. What do you think what information would you bring back to us, or what time frame would you say that should be for us to know that?
I think it would be appropriate to do so immediately. I think that if you look at the communities that have been asked by Metropolitan Water District to reduce down to 1 day per week, I do think that that is geared towards a 35% reduction, as noted in the Metropolitan Water District resolution and action. If you look at what the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power did just this week, they moved to a 2-day per week request. And it's important to note, as a wholesaler, we really don't have the ability to enforce this action within our communities. However, we are looking at scheduling individual council briefings on the drought, and it would be a great opportunity to really highlight the need to reduce and provide maybe a call to action to reduce down to 2 days. And if we were to do that, I think we could definitely see additional savings. Right now, West Basin Municipal Water District, if you look at the governor's declaration, we're 5.1% of a reduction compared to 2020. And not every month has been great. In fact, if you look at March, you saw a huge uptick in the state of California as far as reductions go. But it's worth noting that 2020 was during the pandemic. Water usage was was considerably lower than previous years. But I do think that 5.1% is a great start, but we can do more. And if it's the board's direction to go out there and conduct that outreach with each of our municipalities, we can share that message with them. With your help, we can push and ask them to do what's right. Join with Los Angeles Department of Water and Power and ask to go down to 2 days 2 days irrigation per week.
I would like to propose to this committee to have that discussion for the full board or the consensus of the board to have that discussion. So for that action. So what would be the process to do that, Mr. General Manager? Or anyone?
Okay, I wonder if that would be appropriate for us to make a motion here and to have an action item to bring that very item to our board meeting in May 23rd.
I have a
Yeah.
I have a correction. We don't have a quorum of this committee, so
Right.
you can't pass any motions for the committee.
Well, between that, but I think we could also just put it on the agenda for the board meeting, correct?
Sure.
Well, is this a special board meeting plus a committee meeting, or isn't it both?
I don't think it's been advertised as such, but I have no problem putting it on the board agenda as the president, if that's okay with you folks.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we were following the process. I thought we always say special board meeting.
Today is a special meeting of the board of directors. In answer to your question, Director Gray.
Yeah, so it is a special board meeting and a committee meeting, is that?
It is both, yes, a special board meeting and a public information and education committee meeting.
So wouldn't it be appropriate to make a motion if it's a special board meeting? Just to make
Scott, if you don't mind, I'll share this part and I will accept the motion. Is there a second?
Yeah, well, what's the motion so I understand?
The
Go ahead,
motion
Gloria.
is to place on the agenda the discussion of a discussion with our retailers or whomever to talk about some restrictions to meet the goal of conservation.
Sure, I'll second that.
Okay, let's call a roll on that.
Yeah. Do we have discussion really quick before we?
Do we need to? Okay, go ahead.
Oh no, I totally echo it because actually that was going to come up anyway. I think would be yes, we need to have a policy discussion, so that's what we need to do. And I think the sooner the better, as Chair Gray said. So I think staff needs to look at what they can bring back to us to discuss at the end of the month. So with that, yeah, I fully second that motion.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the roll. Director Houston, how do you vote?
Yes.
Director Gray?
Yes.
And as chair, I also vote yes. And the other two members are absent, and that motion passes. Now I'll turn the mic and the gavel back to the committee chairman, Houston.
Okay, great, thank you. And
Thanks.
Director Gray, do you have any other questions?
The only comment I wanted to make is asking the staff to come back with recommendations as to some of the things that EJ talked about, so that we can have a thorough discussion and more focused discussion of what we can and cannot do as a wholesaler.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I echoed that. And so I think the additional things can probably be something that comes back to this committee next month, as Director Gray was asking about. We already made a motion to have the policy discussion for the end of the month board meeting, because I was actually going to say the same thing. I think, we need to decide what we want to do and take some sort of a position, even though we can't enforce certain things, but how could we say we're in alignment, let alone work with our retailers to try and, have them, well, however we do it, we voluntarily are asking them to do things. We can't enforce anything, I guess, but one of the things about it is, and then we determine what is the right path for us. 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, what we're encouraging our retailers to do in our area. One thing I would ask staff to actually do, if you could do this sooner than later, is can you send to the board a list of what our current retailers are doing? Because number one, everything's all over the map in the area, but number two is I just saw that apparently the city of Manhattan Beach has indicated to do 3 days a week watering schedule or something like that. I just saw that come through on the Manhattan Beach patch. So apparently the city already took some sort of an action. So I think that would be good that the board needs to know what's going on with each of the cities and or retailers in our area. So we're up to speed. So I'd ask you guys to do that, because again, it goes back to the discussion at the end of the month at our board meeting as to what we would do on the policy side to help encourage. Just had a couple things out of this, and thank you, EJ. It's a very thorough report, and unfortunate we're not all here, but it's important to talk about a couple things. I'm glad you guys, I know we've talked about this in the past, you're working on some potential op-eds and some other things that we can discuss later as to how those get completed and get into the different divisions. So we're working on that. I like the idea of the potential town halls, although, and I see how you put this in, maybe you would do one or more in the different divisions. I think where I would go with that is maybe not a town hall yet in the West Basin service area, unless the director really wants one in their own division. But maybe a better way right now would be to step up some of our in-person and or virtual opportunities like the Know Your H2O, because you've already got that going. It may be better to utilize that more at this moment and or have those that type of a class rather than town hall, because you know a town hall can become, it can go in a different direction you may not want to at this point. I don't know what happened in Las Virgenes. Did that town hall already happen, EJ?
You know, I placed a call. I have not heard back yet. I fear that it did. I fear that it happened earlier this week and I just haven't heard. I was hoping to attend myself, so I was hoping it was next week, but.
Oh, okay. I heard they were going to have one, and of course they're a retailer, and you know, there's a lot obviously going on. You and I were at Aqua and heard from their general manager and directors that you know, they're getting a lot of phone calls and a lot of attention, and so then a town hall, who knows how that went, but they're in a different space at this moment. So I think number one, we need to see how that went for them, because that's how you would plan such a thing in our area, but we're not quite in that space for a town hall. So maybe a better way to look at it is a you know, more of the Know Your H2O type of like a workshop. So you know, it's not where people going to come down and scream and bicker at us. It's more like, you know, hey, look at here's all the things that are going on, and we're still educating. I think down the road we'll probably have to do some strategic town halls and or briefings for our electeds and so on. But just from my perspective, I don't think we're quite there yet. So what I would ask staff to do is look at the roster, and maybe we want to add some more classes to it that might help address this situation. But we can also talk about that, Greg, maybe at the board meeting in this item. So, okay, so that was one of the things I wanted to make mention there. And one other thing that we probably should look at doing again at some point is those firescaping classes, even if it's the online version like we did up in Malibu and Palos Verdes, because we're getting back in the fire season. So that may work well to complement this as well, EJ and Greg. If we perhaps throw one or two more of those in to the schedule over the course of how many ever months, it just might be really timely, especially what just happened in Orange County yesterday with that big fire on the coast. So I think in the big picture, we've covered the bases. We got a good update from you all as to what's going on, but also, and Chair Gray made that motion. I think it's excellent. So we can have a policy discussion at the end of the month. And then if you guys will send us what's going on with our local communities, because again, you know, Manhattan Beach already did something, and I think right now there's just a lot of confusion for folks in the communities. They just don't understand who's doing what, where, and how, and so we can get ahead of that at this moment. And when we get more close to some of those conversations, I've gotten a lot of feedback in the communities too lately about, you know, how could how could the district do some better outreach and so on. Some suggestions were made to me, so I'll talk to the general manager about that. But it's all in keeping with what we're already doing, and so I think we're in a good space right now. But now it's getting hot and heavy as the summer approaches. So I think that's pretty much it. So do you have all the requests that were made?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, Director.
Perfect. Okay, I think that's it. Anything else from the board members? Gotcha. Okay. So I know we've been on this meeting for a while, so I will try to crank it up a little bit. We've only got, what, 2 more reports, I think, Greg?
Let's see.
If so.
Getting back to our agenda here. So we are now at agenda item, info item number F. So we have Gus Meza and Jennifer Vasquez, who are ready to present on our conservation programs update. And of course, Jennifer Vasquez is our water policy and resources analyst too. So I'll hand it over to Gus and Jennifer.
Great. Thank you, Greg. And good afternoon again, Chairman Houston, committee and board members. I'll be very brief with my updates. My first update is on our Change and Save program, which is shown on packet page 131. Our goal for our Change and Save program is to provide residents with 500 water conservation kits and 400 high-efficiency clothes washer rebates at $500 each. We are working closely with our partners, the South Bay Cities Council of Governments, our water retailers, and cities to promote this program. We are using city tabling events as an opportunity to distribute the free conservation kits and to promote the rebates. To date, we have provided over 400 of the 500 conservation kits and 209 clothes washer rebates at $500 each, mainly to our priority communities for the washer rebates. And recently, the South Bay COG was able to assist staff with placing us on the agenda of the Lennox Coordinating Council, where staff provided an update on our current water supply situation and our conservation programs. They represent the LA County area of Lennox. So the next program is on our Malibu Smart Topanga Smart program, which starts on packet page 132. And as requested from the committee, staff has included the water savings associated with the various measures that have been installed in Malibu and Topanga through this program, as shown on page 132. And on page 133, we provided a sample of some marketing materials that we used to promote the smart sprinkler timers. We're currently promoting the installation of 300 free timers. Both the sprinkler timers are free and the installations are free. And to date, we have installed 118 of these high efficiency sprinkler timers, with an additional 32 being scheduled and another 66 residents currently being qualified for the program. We and our partners, we're currently working on a final marketing push. We plan on placing an ad in the Malibu Times in the next week and sending out another e-blast. We will continue promoting this project through June 30th of this year. And I'll pause here. My last update is on the Rain Barrel program, but I'll just pause here to see if there are any questions or comments.
Any questions? My only comment, Gus, would be if staff could just keep the directors informed when there's going to be a presentation. So for example, Lennox, which actually that's Director Gray and myself have Lennox, but I'm glad you guys were there, but we didn't know. So that would be good if you guys ahead of time just give us an update that that's happening. I appreciate that you all are there. I just want to make sure that the directors are informed, where you all are making presentations, because we might hear about it later. So.
Yes, okay, will do.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Great, thank you. So on packet page 133, that's where the Rain Barrel program starts. And We provided a schedule to conduct 5 distribution events, 1 in each division. So over this month and next month, the staff will be reaching out and working through our board services to schedule the events with our directors and identify the community groups that will be assisting us. And that is my update. And I can go ahead and turn this over to Jennifer Vasquez for her update. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Gus, and good afternoon, Chairman Houston and members of the committee and board. I will begin on board packet page 134 with updates to the Grass Replacement Plus program, highlighting April activity, but also providing a general overview of the outreach elements that proved successful in this first round pilot program phase, as I continue to refer to it. As mentioned at the last board meeting, this program is no longer receiving applications for this fiscal year, as the great news is that all design packages planned for this program have been claimed by West Basin residents. As you recall, eligibility was determined by those census tracts highest affected by pollution and other environmental factors. And for this reason, the information within the board memo is included by city because it is by census tracts that we're looking at for this program. This transitions this pilot phase of the program to completing the final design consultations and assisting residents apply for their funds through the rebate process. And so I've spoken to the residents directly who will work with me to begin submitting their final landscape design that was produced by tree people and the photos and also a copy of their water bills to the rebate program. And in the next few months, we will update and include some of those final designs that were produced, as they really highlight how unique our service area is and the homes within it. And you see, a variety of size for the square footage for the homes that are being used or that have gone through the program, I should say, for the Plus program. We hope to maximize these examples in the upcoming months to really increase grass replacement information on our website because there are really professional designs that can be used by residents just across our service area as examples of what drought tolerant landscaping looks like. And one thing that I did want to provide with this month's update is just an update to the outreach elements that really helped make this program a great success for the application portion. So as you heard, of course, all applications were received for the program. And first of all, I would like to thank the wonderful work that was conducted by Amy and the PI team. They really worked on the strategy to produce the key stakeholders and the strategies for this program as we were beginning to launch and kind of identify who we would tackle. And as requested, attachment A does highlight the initial outreach list of nonprofits and the groups that were contacted and invited to engage with the program. A digital toolkit, for example, was provided, and all promotional materials to these key stakeholders and key contact information was provided at the beginning of when applications were being received for the Grass Replacement Plus program. I won't go into too much detail, but we did see success with the email blast that they sent out to those groups with an open rate that was quite significantly higher than the industry standard of 28%. The first one that was deployed, for example, did have a 42% open rate, and the second one a 40% open rate. So that information based on that industry standard was quite higher for what we see for the email blasts that were used for the program. And of course, this was just one piece of the puzzle, as I say, for the outreach strategies deployed. And this list, the outreach list that you see within attachment A, can grow and evolve as we continue with the future iterations of the program. And we begin to plan for the next fiscal year for what Grass Replacement Plus looks like next fiscal year. The main portion of the applications were, of course, received in March and April. And so one thing that I do want to call out is the Spectrum News story that was featuring Ana Ceballos from the city of Hawthorne that is currently participating in the program. It brought great interest and directly reflected in applications received the week after that Spectrum news story ran and was released. It also shows our team the power of video clips and visual stories as a way to increase engagement. So that's something that we really keep in mind now as we're producing items, not just for this Plus program, but also for the rebate, the grass replacement rebate program in general. And lastly, I did want to mention that South Bay City's Council of Governments, which has come up quite some time during this meeting, did put out a newsletter article related to the Grass Replacement Plus program, which also, finalized some of those applications that we received in the month of April. And then Tree People, at this point, moving forward for this program, Tree People, our program partner for Grass Replacement Plus, will continue scheduling and completing the residential landscape designs. And some of the initial applicants are now receiving their final designs and beginning their rebate applications. That's where we are at this stage. And then lastly, I also wanted to highlight the support for this type of program through staff engagement in the Disadvantaged Community Involvement Program within the Integrated Regional Water Management Program. And this is a task force that is considering additional grant funding for this particular program. And they have praised the collective effort to really balance the needs of the community that we serve with the available sources in the unexpected grant opportunity that emerged from DWR. So as a member of CalWEP and also the Alliance for Water Efficiency, West Basin staff was also able to join an AWE roundtable, which discussed strategies for delivering water conservation programs to disadvantaged households. This was a national roundtable of water use efficiency professionals, where West Basin was able to share strategies that were used for this program, and many of the initial data GIS layers that we talked about as we were formulating what this program looked like is something that is not really widely available, we learned, across other states. So West Basin, and specifically just highlighting some of the efforts that California has done with a lot of those GIS layers to help shape the programs in the way that they look now with water use efficiency. And so that's something that I was very happy to share with that national roundtable group to let them know how we have used this GIS data to then create a program that can be replicated in the future. And a lot of those states, one state in particular did make a comment that, of course, that's unfortunately not available just quite yet. The level of information is not quite yet available in their state, but that's something that they aim to increase in the next few years. That was a lot, but I will be moving into the main portion of the grass replacement rebate section on board packet page 137. And we, of course, include the rebate application table on the same page, which begins from July 1st, 2021. In the month of April, we did close out with 13 new applications that were processed for the grass replacement rebate, which is an update here. And also, we have, as you've heard, scheduled our next West Basin chat to continue promoting the program. The West Basin chat offers a direct opportunity to address questions directly from residents. I do that constantly. I receive a lot of calls, and I'm very happy to hear that as all of these news stories that we're talking about now are going out, residents are starting to pick up the phone. They find my contact information on the grass replacement website page, and they call me directly to ask questions about how they can engage with our grass replacement rebate program, what are the requirements, how to get started. So in a sense, I'm having these chats every day, but we are organizing the next one Wednesday, May 25th at 6 p.m. And we're hoping to have great engagement, especially with all the messaging that's going on with that program. I also wanted to take an opportunity to highlight some of the additional activity that we conduct to ensure that denied applications move forward. So the table that you're seeing on here does include all applications received to the SoCal Water Smart website. I do want to mention that. And many of the denied applications that we see that are processed through SoCal Water Smart, it's such a slight piece of information that's missing, very small. For example, one that mentions square footage, just an adjustment to the square footage that was initially submitted by the resident, and a clarification on the stormwater capture element that's being used on the landscape design, or the ground cover that's being selected on the landscape design. And so I do help connect the resident to SoCal WaterSmart to maximize the experience, to make sure that they know that this is the information that's being requested and this is the reason that their application is currently on hold, and connect them to the actual SoCal WaterSmart staff member that can make that adjustment to make their project and application move forward. And so small conversations like that keep these applications live and keep them active, because they have shown the interest to submit an application. We also want to make sure that they go through the final steps of construction once they receive that approval for their rebate. And I realize my updates today were quite lengthy for grass replacement, so I'll graze over the crash for kitchens. But if you have any questions, I will accept questions at the end. And then for public agency, just really quickly on page 139, West Basin staff is currently working with Swayzer Landscapes, as I mentioned, each month to address design assistant opportunities for potential grass replacement sites, including those listed under the design stage, and then some that are moving forward on on-site design consultations. We have those that are interested but are identifying sites, and some are moving around. For example, Hermosa Beach and El Camino College, which is not yet on this list, but it just developed so quickly, are moving along this week to begin measuring their landscapes areas and begin discussing with their maintenance staff what type of drought tolerant landscaping works best for their space and the needs after it's constructed. So Swayzer Landscapes, I will say, has been instrumental in listening to their staff with concerns of transitioning to a new landscape type. We also want to provide creative ideas to the use of the spaces. Most of these are either medians or open areas that residents can actually take inspiration from on these new gardens once they're constructed. So we balance the maintenance staff that will ultimately maintain these gardens with really the needs of what each individual agency, public agency, has for these areas. And we meet a few times to really make sure that we select plans that work for what they're looking for and ultimately benefit the residents that are seeing these gardens come up. And that is the last of my update. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Thank you so much.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions from the board members? Okay. And I know you went through that very, very quickly. I was trying to keep up, but I had a couple quick things for you. So number one, so the grass replacement plus the funding was just utilized for this fiscal year. Is that what I heard?
Yes, so for the actual design assistance portion of it, we have received all of the applications that we planned for this fiscal year. We set up the budget with Tree People when that contract started, and so they let us know these are the number of packages that we can accept, and so that's there. But the $5 rebate is, we're trying to see how much of that funding is available now, because it is going really fast, not just because of the activity that I just mentioned that we're seeing with the media. And so the rebate is still live. However, the design packages have been allocated and they're now working with Tree People to get those design packages completed. And that includes a design consultation and then a few drafts that go back and forth with their actual resident that's completing that design with Tree People.
Okay, so then new folks really won't be able to apply till after July 1st, assuming that's, our budget goes through as is, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Very, very good to know, because I've been mentioning it here and there when I'm out and about. So good to know. By the way, I did get a question yesterday from a resident asking if they had taken out part of their grass, a handful of years ago, can they now take out some more grass on their property, or are they still eligible?
That's a great question. And yes, it's something that I like to mention to residents, because once a year passes since they last submitted a rebate they become eligible again for the grass replacement rebate. So we find residents that, as you're mentioning, have gone through the process, did a portion of their lawn and our grass, and now would like to do more. So yes, I would invite them to visit SoCal WaterSmart to begin the process again, because after a year, they become eligible to apply once again.
Perfect. Good to know. And then you mentioned about the GIS component, and you're having that discussion with some other folks around the United States, which is fascinating because obviously sometimes we are very well ahead of others. But all that being said, I think you all have done a great job utilizing GIS. So this is just kind of putting an idea out there. That should be something maybe if there's an opportunity to present on that or to go for an award, we should look at that opportunity, or if there's going to be a conference that makes sense, Greg, maybe we can pitch that just to showcase something we're doing, so show some success. So that's just purely an idea, but I think that's a great idea that we might have an opportunity to showcase something we've done in advance of others. So Jennifer, I like that. Bear with me. I think my notes are all over the place because you were going fast, but this is good.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. And I think the only one last thing, and I know you guys have been working really hard on the public agency outreach. And so
by the chair, I'm gonna quit this in a couple of minutes.
And so now that everything is really coming together quickly, obviously with the drought and all this attention and then water restrictions in certain locations, I think this is even more relevant now. So I would just ask you all if you could again touch base in particular with West Hollywood, with the city of Culver City, and with the city of El Segundo to see if there are other areas that they might be interested in taking advantage of this right now. Because I know we've talked a little bit about El Segundo Library, but also, there might be other properties that they own that would be worthy. The city of West Hollywood, we have not done much with them in quite some time, but they do have medians that don't have, they're not gonna be able to water. There are some parks and parklets. I mean, so again, if you talk to the city folks, they may, with your prompting, identify some locations that may make sense. And last but not least, Culver City City Hall. I mean, years ago, we were talking about those strips of grass around City Hall that looked terrible, and maybe now's their chance to take them out. And I saw the city manager a couple weeks ago at a conference and mentioned this to him, but this is a great opportunity for you all just to call whoever, Public Works or the environmental person, or maybe city manager's office, just to really prompt them again. Because I think now they all might be a little more interested in taking advantage of the opportunity. So I'm just kind of putting it out there. We know that we know that Malibu, they've actually been pretty engaged. But those other three cities in my area, I think you could give them an extra reminder. That'd be good.
Great. Yeah, if I may just speak to that, we definitely have reached out to 2 out of the 3. So I'll check back in with West Hollywood. It's the only one missing that I haven't made direct contact in quite some time. So, but other than that, yes. And also one thing that we want to do to facilitate the process for meeting and learning about the public agency program is possibly offer my schedule as like a one-on-one session, which is really how this begins, the process. Just to let them know it's a 10 to 15 minute kind of short presentation that I provide about, how much money is available for their area, what the opportunities are, give them some examples of what other cities are doing, almost to nudge them to say, hey, look at what the city of Carson is doing, for example, who is, one of those that is moving a lot quicker with some of this planning phase, utilizing our design assistants. And it's almost like an example of, hey, this city's doing this, this is what you could do. And I think that works really well, especially if they are considering different areas across their city.
No, it is the truth. And so I will say, I know the meeting's a little long, everybody, but, right now, at least, I mean, my perspective, personally, but even when I talk to residents around our greater region, I think at this point, you've almost got to be a little bit insulted that a lot of the public spaces have so much grass, and yet the water districts are telling people you're not going to be able to water, we need you to take grass out. So I think we just have to, now we're going to have every megaphone we have to really push hard and say, okay, there's opportunities to do this. We're actually going to help incentivize it, but we also need to practice what we preach. And so, I know the water districts, I think we do a good job, but the city government may or may not realize it or not live up to it. And so this is our opportunity just to help them, to entice them. Because my personal perspective. I think that it's going to get a little more rough out there because, you know, people are, you know, there's the ones that have done what their part, and some of that feedback's like, you know what, I can't do any more, you know, stop talking to me, but my neighbor hasn't. So, or you know, or I see, you know, the median or the city hall front lawn is gorgeous and lush. This doesn't make any sense. So I think everyone's going to start really getting the memo pretty quick here, but this is our opportunity to really participate and, you know, to really try to make some changes that will last. So anyway, I'm on my soapbox, but I'm very, very kind of frustrated myself sometimes at the, you know, somebody else do it, but not me. Well, now we're all going to kind of be doing things. So anyway, sorry about that. I appreciate it, Jennifer, and I think we'll move on. If there's any last questions, we can get that at the back end. But let's move on to, I think it's our final report, which is the water bottle filling station.
And that takes us to our Water Policy and Resources Analyst 2, Tammy Hurley High. Tammy, please.
Thank you, Greg. Hi, good afternoon, Chair Houston and board members. So this is an update on activities related to the water bottle filling station program. And the first slide included on this presentation, it lists the pending applications that have been submitted as of July 2021. There's not too much of an update here from the last update that we had in the last board meeting. But if we can advance to the next slide, please. And this list is for the applications that are received during this current fiscal year. An update on this slide just includes a new application we received from Temple Akiba of Culver City. It's a private nonprofit organization. So just wanted to indicate that we did receive an application from them. And if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So regarding Center Street School in El Segundo, they've recently completed their installation, and this water bottle filling station is located near the third grade classroom, but it's also in a location that is accessible to all students on the campus. And it's also adjacent to the baseball field, so members of the local community can access it in the evenings or over the weekend. So this is pretty exciting to have this photo printed on the front page of the local newspaper. And shown here in this photo next to Director Houston is Principal Dr. Martha Monahan, along with the El Segundo Unified School District Superintendent, Dr. Melissa Moore, School Board President Tracy Miller Zarnicki, School Board Vice President Dima Wheaton, and then students from the Center Street Elementary School. They're all very thankful for the funding assistance that West Basin has provided in order to install this unit. We can go to the next slide, please. We also had an opportunity to visit the Environmental Charter School in Gardena to view their recently installed station. And this has been installed in a centrally located area on the campus that is located right outside of the education building and near the main office. It's a heavily foot traffic area. And we were able to capture a photo with the school principal, Dr. Cindy Guardado, along with the students that are involved in the leadership committee. Again, they are very thankful that West Basin was able to help them purchase this unit and have it installed. If we can go to the next slide, please. This list indicates the organizations that have their stations installed and also indicates the locations that are currently pending. And we continue to stay in contact with these entities to schedule photo shoots with the directors and their officials of that organization. And if we can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. Lastly, here's an update for this program. I'd like to also mention that we've been receiving inquiries from other agencies interested in submitting applications, and we continue to work with them to answer questions about the program and filling out the application process. So that pretty much concludes this update for the water bottle filling station program. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. I'm just looking, I think Director Gray is still here. I don't know if the Director Deere is, but any questions, Director Gray?
No, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the report.
Great, thank you. I only have a couple minor questions, Tammy. So yes, this slide right here. So, and it's Temple Akiba up there. And so they did put their application in. Well, they put a request in. We haven't approved that yet, correct? So you guys are reviewing it?
That is correct, Director Houston. So we're reviewing it to make sure that they've submitted all of the applicable documentation that is required for the application. And we'd like to bring this back to the committee for review and approval. I had mentioned this a few months back when they had indicated they had expressed interest, and we just invited them to submit the application for our review and approval. This is a nonprofit agency. They do have a school, and this has happened in the past where we've had another nonprofit, or I'm sorry, it isn't a, that's what the program is intended for, is for a nonprofit, and this is not for a nonprofit entity. And in the past, we have made some allowances depending on where we are at in the program in the fiscal year. So we'd like to bring it back possibly next month to ask for your review and any input on the application that we've received, and perhaps maybe consider accepting that application. So.
Okay, no, very good. And I know that, yeah, we've had at least one, if not a couple, nonprofits and or schools that have had a little bit of a unique scenario, but they still met most criteria and got accepted, you know, as long as we're in compliance. Okay.
Correct.
So, by the way, so now we're going to end up having extra funds left over by the end of the fiscal year, just in this pot, regardless of some of the pendings. And then we've got our new budget that is being, you know, discussed as we speak. So here's a question I think that, well, maybe you won't have these, I don't know, but like we did before, if there's any that are going to be kind of lined up at the end of the fiscal year in a division that's going to not have enough funds, I think we should obviously have the conversation that if the board would like to shift funding from one area into the other, we could do that. I don't know if that's even going to happen this cycle. I'm looking at this, but Tammy, I guess that will be between June and July. You'll know that information, right? So I don't think we want to turn anybody away when we've got plenty of money here to utilize for this fiscal year. So
yeah, that's correct. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. And as I had mentioned, we are receiving some inquiries from others. So, you know, we're just waiting to see, you know, where applications come in. And if we do receive more, we certainly want to give you that information. And like you said, we certainly don't want to turn away anything. So we want to, you know, bring the information to you, and then, you know, look to get your feedback on that.
okay, great. Let me go really fast to the slide before this, page 149. There's the pending photo opportunities, but, and I know you're working with El Segundo, and we got to keep working on those two sites, but the Culver City Unified School District, the high school hall #1 and technology center, have those actually been installed, or were those still waiting to be installed?
So those have been installed. Those are from older applications. They have been installed, and they have recently, you know, submitted an application for other newer ones. But those are from older applications. I have been in contact with them, and to ensure that they have the signage ready. And so we've been in communication there, and I'm working with them on trying to get a photo opportunity scheduled. So I continue to be in conversation with them.
Great. Okay. All right. Well, I think that's everything for the moment, but thank you, Tammy, to you and the team for all the work on this, as well as when we do get the chance to do the photos, they come out excellent. And then the community sees what we're doing. So that's really wonderful. And we always get a lot of good feedback about these stations. because even in Malibu and other places, people talk to me about it all the time. They love them. And of course, we have the counters on some of them, and people can literally see how much, how many bottles of water have been saved. And as well as another thought, of course, is we're saving some plastic use, hopefully. So anyways, thank you, Tammy, for that excellent report. I appreciate it. Let's see, I think I'm losing almost all my board members at this point, except for maybe Director Gray and I. So let's close it out. We have no closed session. And we'll move into item 8, director's comments and future agenda items. Director Gray, do you have any comments?
I just want to thank staff for all the reports this morning. They are so thorough, and appreciate the work that the staff continues to do, and the general manager. So thank you very much. I won't start calling names because I may forget someone, but thank you to all of you this morning for all your work and your reports, and the general manager. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Director Gray, on behalf of our staff and myself.
Great. Thank you, Director Gray. And again, I don't see the other board members here, so I think the only comment I have too is, I mean, this is a very, very thorough bunch of reports, a lot of work's going on, and I think it's probably going to only get a hair busier just because of the nature of the drought. But the good thing is we have a lot of things already in place that we can sort of add on to or adjust as we go throughout the rest of the calendar year. So all that being said, that's good. And as I indicated, if you all just make sure you keep the board informed on some of the events or the things coming up so we're aware, as well as if we want to participate, how we can. And with that, I believe this meeting is now adjourned. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Houston. Thank you, Director Gray. And I suppose we no longer have Director Deere with us, but thank you for a really great session today.
Thank you.
And we look forward to bringing back the items for our May 23rd board meeting to have a policy discussion regarding our drought response.